Husband wants divorce because he can't bond with our daughter, says he needs to start over. My husband, 29M, and I, 30MB, have been married for 5 years. I gave birth to our first child in September, a girl. My husband was present for most of my labor, but things went very pear-shaped, and I had to have an emergency C-section. The doctors told him to leave the room and wait outside. In short, he did not see our daughter be born. A week ago he informed me that he wants to divorce and start over on his dreams of having a family. He insists that he cannot bond with our daughter and says it's because he didn't see her being born. He said a lot about how it's always been a dream of his to have a small, close-knit family, and now he can't have that with me because of the C-section and his not being in the room. His dad suggested therapy, but his husband refused, saying he knew it wouldn't work. I've made sure he knows I'm open to the idea if he changes his mind, but he's been very insistent that he knows this can't be fixed. Part of me knows I'm basically asking for a magic spell here, but does anyone have any ideas how this can be fixed? Update. Several people suggested asking him to come with me to a therapist so I can get help understanding why he's leaving. He agreed, and our appointment was yesterday. It didn't go badly, but it didn't go well either. He was very upfront with the therapist. He didn't try to mince words or refuse to answer questions. He told the man, paraphrasing, they got to bond the entire pregnancy. That baby is made of their body. I can't compare to that. My work started at birth, and I wasn't there, so I don't feel like I ever got hired, if that makes sense. Yeah, he compared it to not having an employment contract. I get the metaphor, I guess, but I'm not sure how it translates to him not being able to bond. Several people made transphobic comments, and several other people asked if maybe my lack of gender was an issue. I assumed no because my husband had known that I'm non-binary since before we started dating, but I did bring it up while we were with the therapist. Husband insists that no, it has nothing to do with anything. He didn't care about what I am but how I did. The therapist was very focused on trying to help me understand, and I appreciate that. No complaints with him. I'm still completely in the dark, though, and my husband has started talking about choosing a lawyer. He says he wants a clean break before daughter gets too attached. Update 2. We have filed. I have taken daughter and moved back in with my parents, who aren't very happy about the divorce but are thrilled to have the chance to nanny daughter, their words, not mine. Life was in stasis for about a week after my last post until FIL asked us to come over for dinner. He informed me that my ex-husband had asked for his help paying for a lawyer. He had agreed with the requirement that we all sit down and have one last talk about the situation. He opened by saying that he thinks that getting this over with would be best for me and daughter. My ex-husband looked a little hurt at this, so he's willing to help, but he wanted to take one last shot at fixing it. The one last shot ended up being several hours of talking. Father-in-law bluntly demanded that ex-husband explain his reasoning. My ex-husband repeated the can't bond thing. Father-in-law asked why. The employment contract analogy was brought up again. After much back and forth, what do you mean by this? Why, that father-in-law just said, I'm not buying this. What's the real reason? My ex-husband insisted till the end that what he'd been saying all along was his reasoning. He did not see daughter be born, so he can't bond. He tried, he insisted. The connection isn't there. He was supposed to connect when daughter was born. There was supposed to be a spark of connection between them, but that spark can only happen right at birth, I guess? In his mind he can't get it now. Father-in-law asked if my ex-husband thought daughter wasn't his. My ex insists he has no doubts he is daughter's biological father. Father-in-law asked if he was seeing someone else. Was there a woman or another pregnancy somewhere? He did not react well to this. He threw his phone down on the table and said that we were free to search it, he's not a scumbag. After that, the conversation turned to post-divorce life. He offered up that he'd been running the numbers and would volunteer $50 a month in alimony and $50 a month in child support. He doesn't have to do either, mind, because we're divorcing and he wants to cut all ties with the kid, but he wants to be fair. $50 in alimony? Whatever, I have a job and a roof over our heads. I don't need it. $50 in child support? That is a lot less whatever. But I'm refusing to stress about it. The court will handle child support amounts. I'm making myself not be angry and let them deal with it. I admit I tuned out most of my father-in-law attempt to talk sense into his son after that comment. I think that was when the coffin finally nailed itself shut. I started packing when we got home and went to my parents' house the next day. I'm no longer talking to my ex-husband, his lawyer talks to mine. We haven't spoken in almost 3 weeks. I don't think I need to tell you that he hasn't shown any concern for daughter, but here I am anyway. The day after I got there, my sister kidnapped me to her place. We got very drunk, daughter was with parents, not us, talked about everything, and I screamed a lot. I got most of it out of my system. After that, we had more drinks and watched terrible horror movies. I woke up the next day with the headache from hell but otherwise feeling better than I had in a long time. My job can't transfer me, just my luck, but I've been promised a glowing reference, and I'm cashing out what little paid leave I have left to add to my savings. My father-in-law asked after the failed conversation if I would be cutting him off. I assured him that he might not see us as much because of how far away my parents live and not knowing where I'll end up, but he's not getting rid of me or daughter that easily. He was very happy to hear that. So that's where I am. Papers have been filed, daughter and I have moved out of the house, and I'm doing my best to ignore my ex's existence. Thank you all again for listening to me cry and complain over the past couple months. Update 3. Daughter turned 1 this month. She landed on naughty as her first word. I suspect this is because my father-in-law brought home a foster-to-adopt dog a few months back whose previous owners called her Gnod or Gnodder. Daughter loves the heck out of this dog, you guys. My father-in-law sends me pictures of her every day to show to my daughter. Ex-husband and I are just waiting on some final paperwork for the divorce to be complete. He has not contested anything. He did look the judge in the face and repeat the whole didn't see birth, can't bond thing. His lawyer did try and defend that claim. He presented studies that he claimed said things about damages to bonds when fathers weren't present and actively involved for everything but the ex-husband was. He was there and active and involved my entire pregnancy and was present for my entire labor until things went wrong. It wasn't a case of ayo, hey, you knocked someone up 5 years ago, now bond with this kid. Daughter was definitely less than an hour old when he held her for the first time, probably less than half an hour. And I had proof for this claim too. Among other things, I had pictures of the two of us at multiple prenatal appointments. My father-in-law was also willing to file a statement talking about how ex and he were involved in my pregnancy. Needless to say, the judge was not impressed with my ex's lawyer's arguments. He tried to push my ex for therapy and made comments about how he would regret this later. Ex stood stubborn with his "I need to start over" line. He has visitation per the paperwork. Care to guess if he's used it? He does also have to pay child support. If you've read my post history, you might remember that he offered me a gigantic $50 a month. That's all he's been paying despite the judge ordering a lot more, so that's a fight I'm going to have to steel myself for. I'm surprised he started scanning out before the divorce was even final, but he did tell me and his dad that he's not a scumbag, so in his mind he's probably just keeping true to his word or something. He's shown no interest in daughter. No other children, pregnant women, or potential partners have popped up either. As best as dad can tell, ex is single and not showing any interest in dating yet. I don't know how I feel, really. It would make more sense if he was cheating. It would be easier to have something solid to point to, go fuck you into a tornado for making my life fall apart, and then try to move on. But all lived evidence points to him honestly thinking he has to do this. I'm in therapy. I found a place in the middle of my parents and my father-in-law, and I'm still doing freelance work. I would rate myself okay. Daughter is happy, healthy, and kicking off. She will be fine. I plan to never speak to ex again once this paperwork is done. I just have to wait to be able to totally start over myself.